Hello everyone, this is Elle from Analyze. As promised, now that we know a production process, it is time to talk about the details. Today, we're going to talk about the early stages of a project and learn how to make a schedule, or better say, initial table. Why do we need this schedule? For being able of tracking a project, first part is about making a pre-plan. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to talk about any software. We will talk about foundation of management for starting a project and learn how to put our steps in the right direction. Pre-plan schedule works like production theory about the project, and then we can make a bid table out of it. Bid is a table that you make for referring to price or investigating if you can make a project with offered amount of price or not. In some situations, clients come to you with specific amount of budget and idea. You should investigate if it's possible for your team to make it or not. In other cases, they come and ask you about your company's offer for making a project. Any case has its own complications, but for knowing how to offer better price, you need to know every step, people you need, and then with help of some basic mathematic functions, the bid appears. Don't forget that you should have an accounting advice for making every table get involved with money, cost, and price. As this kind of concepts comes from business, marketing, and economy, it means we need to know about them. Together, we will take a look at a good YouTube video that roughly explains about bid and ask.
Let's have a discussion about what is the bid and the ask of a stock. And really what we're talking about here is, what is a stock quote? Stocks are quoted in terms of a bid and an ask, two different prices, because it represents two different possibilities. And in order to understand this, we have to go back to what the stock market is. In other words, what is a market? Well, a market is simply a place where things are bought and sold. And so in the stock market, be it on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange or electronically at any given time, it's a meeting place of sorts for buyers to come together with sellers. The bid of a stock represents the highest amount of price that somebody is willing to pay for shares of that stock. Let me give you
I will put it on your shoulder to go search more about this topic, or ask me in the comment if you want to know more. Imagine there is an idea, we got the green light to produce it. The possible option could be like this. Your client wants a project for a specific of time. Your company has its own rules for doing a project, for example 3 to 5 years. Make your suggested table and discuss it with the team based on your experience, the price of the project, and so on. Go and see what will happen. I'm assuming that we have 3 years for making this project. Before we go further, I need to mention that the things we are going to know are very important. The more detail you know, the best you would handle a project. Don't be shocked and don't skip them. You may think that these are on other departments' shoulders, and we know enough. But the thing that distinguishes us from others should be our unstoppable curiosity. Don't look at it just as a job for earning money. Love it and improve yourself to improve your team. Knowledge is the thing that helps us, not the level or the title we carry. Repeat this to yourself every second that we are working with emotional smart creatives. And don't forget, if a manager knowledge wouldn't be enough, bozo explosion will happen. Okay, enough advice. When a team accepts to make an idea, they will go to do some steps. The first step is presenting that idea. This is on creative development shoulders and storytellers. You should have some meeting session with them and take a note of whatever they say. But who else you think should on those meetings? That's right. We need to talk with our department's heads, because when storytellers share ideas, you will consider timing and budget. The other head would consider their parts. They will ask some questions, deny some ideas, or even add some other to make a project better. You may need to invite some other experts for their advice. Yes, they will all drop coins, but prevent to face disaster and help the quality of every part growth. For this part, to know how to handle creative people, I highly recommend How Google Works book by Eric Schmitz and Jonathan Rosenberg, and Think Again by Adam Grant. This book will improve power of thinking. This part is important. Have an eager ear and eye on every small part, even if it looks unimportant. Make a note of any detail and let the team know about your notes for correcting possible errors. Every session, the teams are talking about everything. They're sharing data with you. As an example, we're going to take a look at some possible questions I might ask our teams. Let's see what they are, and don't forget to add yours to this list. Imagine your team are talking about a girl in a family that they are a magician and they live in Colombia. Okay, you took a note of this, but what should you do? Let me guess some question in your mind. How many people are in this family? What do they do? What's their gender? Do we have any child? Are they fat or thin? What will be their abilities? And they told you they are Colombian, right? How's Colombia's environment? Is it like desert or jungle? Do we have special trees or any plant? What could be their lifestyle? Don't put all answer on your team's shoulder. Shake a leg and go through the internet and gain some other knowledge about the environment they talked about. Here's an example of what Disney team did for gathering information about the environment they want to use in their story.
We knew that if we were going to tell a story that was inspired by Colombia, we wanted it to feel true.
We went and visited the Cocora Valley. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. We knew this is where the home of the Madrigal should be.
Your team might don't have that much budget for going and gathering unique infos, but there is still an affordable way. Seeking through the internet. After gathering infos about Colombia, let's see what do they mean for us. We learned we have dancing and choreography, and as a result, there are many tasks for CFX and HFX, plus in animation, rig, and model. Better say to every part. So we need to know how to handle dance and musical part. What else? Having meetings with your team and share your opinion, and they will help you not killing yourself. This is called teamwork. Put them on your schedule and use 1 tablespoon of your stomach syrup. We have still some other parts. You gather info about characters with magic who will dance and wear Colombian clothes. The environment is green, and in those meetings, it's mentioned that family live in a live house. Take a deep breath and continue. Let's get back to our table. We're just supposed to know how to make a schedule. Come with me if you want to know more. Do you remember the pipeline? Put every item in your table based on a standard pipeline. Then make some changes based on the info you got. Now have meetings with your heads and ask for the rough estimate about every part. Put them on your table and don't forget to add contingency. By just putting items after each other, we see we need around 10 years. This is not good at all. Now this question comes to your mind, how we could make it in 3 years. For sure, you haven't just one option for answering this question. Together, we will take a look at some circumstances and see what works best. Step 1 is to see which part can be done together or can't. It means how tasks can be overlapped. And don't forget what? Teams meetings and get their advice. In this case, you need to be careful because somehow some steps look that can be done together. But when you see the reality, you will understand not only overlapping them didn't help, but also they damaged the project. For answering this question, that how to parallelize, we need to consider so many items. First step is to parallelize tasks in case that can be done. Next is number of people you need. None of them have a fixed figure, and you need to be careful about every step. In every week wrap-up session, you will see some delays in some parts and some speed in others. It is not stable at all until the end, but with a good tracking, you will identify what's going on, reason of delays, and of being ahead. But let's answer this question that how many people could be enough? As I told you, there isn't a fixed figure, but there are some theories that can help you to prevent expanding your team in a size that you can't track all tasks as best as possible. To understand it better, let's watch another helpful YouTube content.
Today, I want to talk to you about the complexity of leading large teams. Now, as your team grows, so does the complexity of communication, the return on work, and your ability to develop people. Now, let's take a look at this. If you have a team of 4 people, there are actually 6 different lines of communication. If you add just one more person to that team of 5 now has 10 lines of communication. 6 people on your team means 15 lines of communication, and 7 people actually equals 21 lines of communication. This isn't a math lesson. I'm not going to go any further. You get the idea. Now, as we add people, it becomes more and more likely that communication will break down or things are just going to become unclear. It's complex, guys. It also impacts the group dynamics. It affects how they relate to one another, and if they do so in an effective way. Also, the number of people you add isn't a direct return on work. Often it diminishes over the number of people that you add. If you add too many people, you get a bad return on work, and your span of care is greatly reduced in the number of people you can actually develop. So, in an ideal scenario, your team size should be no more than 6 or 7 people. This will mitigate those issues. For teams that grow larger, you need to consider another layer of leadership. For example, let's say you have 20 people on your parking team. You need to add 3 captains to that parking team to oversee 6 or 7 people each. Now, adding this role gives you the opportunity to elevate leaders, to develop them, develop those captains, as well as create clarity and focus for each of the individual team members. They're going to be served better. They're going to be more clear on what their role is. They're going to be developed better. So now that you understand the increasing complexity of large teams, what are you going to do about it?
He's talking about numbers number, and I'll put again on your shoulder to continue knowing about it if you want. But if you need a clue, you can start with its book. How many friends does one person need? By Professor Robin Dunbar. This formula will affect on all departments, which means try to make your team as small as possible. But how small it should be in each department and how many leadership layers you need is another story. Now that we know all, it is time to wrap up our table and give it to the team to take a look at. And when we do all required changes, it is time to plan for budget and then go for presenting it to client to go for next step. I know in this video we talked a lot about the theories and guesses, but making first table are really like this. It needs so many trial and errors. You need to study and search and have lots of meetings and be aware that it is just a guide. When you walk into the project, you will face with so many unanswered topics. Make your mind ready for them and don't be shy. Don't think you should have answered them all. For every problem, get the team advice. This way there are more other options you have. It helps you make decision easiest and best. What you need to know, it is not all on you to make it. You need to know it that making this kind of table need a production team. Every person should be responsible for a part, and there should be a project manager or producer to gather them all together, verify them, and share them with client and let you know about the feedbacks. Talking about possible roles that should be in a production team depends on the management style you work. In another video, I will talk about methods and which method works best for what kind of a project. Now that I'm working on next video, you have time to look at channels, websites, and book I introduced and be ready for the next video. I'm sure you know for being aware of next video, you need to subscribe my channel, and if you wanna be the first one, hit the bell button for getting notified. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to share your idea or questions here in the comments and share it with your friends or even foes. Till the next video, bye.